Okay, welcome everybody. Tasting number 103. We seem to be flying through. We were just talking a little bit earlier tonight about one of the last tastings right before the pandemic shut us down. Um, and it was an in-person tasting, and we didn't actually, I think, know what number it was, but it must have been like 30 or somewhere in that range, and here we are at 103. That just shows you how crazy the pandemic makes us drink whiskey. So, uh, I think we did like 60 or 70 tastings since the pandemic started. So, uh, pretty amazing. A lot of fun. We've learned a lot. We have a lot to come. This is a really fun tasting. Now, these tastings, where we have some really kind of special bottles. This is why I started the club. I mean, yes, it's fun to try everything. I love to try all the new whiskeys that we get at the shop. I love trying whiskey. That's why I do what I do. But when you can get your hands on some bottles that, maybe you follow the progression of some of these bottles. Some of these are parts of series. I'm a big fan of Irish whiskey, and Ireland is going through their revolution in distilling. With the last 15 years or so of all of these new distilleries popping up, and they were the powerhouse. They were the number one whiskey producing country in the world for a long time, and that all changed about almost 100 years ago now. And now they're kind of going through their own revitalization in the whiskey world, which is really a lot of fun. Unfortunately, Irish whiskey still gets somewhat of a bad rap here in the US, even though that's changing a little bit. But, everybody thinks Jameson and maybe the regular Powers and some of the other expressions. I mean, I'm talking about everybody, not us, not whiskey snobs, but regular whiskey or regular bar patrons. Let's put it that way. It still gets kind of a bad rap, and there is still some stuff that gets sent out to the masses that's unfortunate, because it doesn't help show how great Irish whiskey can be. So with that said, we're going to jump into some really great bottles that I was able to get sent over, actually in two different shipments. Josh, who's a member since day one, he, with a few other members, ordered a pretty big box from the Celtic Whiskey Shop in Dublin. So I was able to throw in a few bottles into that. And then the rest I got through Hard to Find Whiskey. And they sent me the other four. So we have 7 whiskeys tonight, all from across the pond. None of these are available in the United States at the moment. We'll see if and when they do come. They might not. Actually, I think most of these won't, actually. We just found out that Dingle is really not going to be sending batch 5 or 6 to the United States. So, a lot has changed in the last couple of years. So we're going to get to try some great whiskey tonight. We do have a scorecard online. So if you can score, I know we have a couple new members joining us tonight. We do have a scorecard. It's pretty simple. It's 25 points for nose, palate, finish, and balance. And it's totally subjective. You come up with your own point system. But we do average all the scores together, and we do put that on our website so that people can look back and remember maybe what whiskeys were the standouts. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get started. There is no, I struggled a little bit with the order tonight. I know we are starting out with a higher strength whiskey, but it was kind of a random distillery or distiller or business company that I didn't really know much about. So when I started to look into them a little bit more, it kind of felt like they should go first because, they weren't one of the main kind of bottles that I was looking for this tasting. So maybe we'll call this a pre-tasting dram to get our taste buds to the right mode for the rest of the whiskeys that come. But we're going to be starting out with, it's a newer expression. It's Kirker and Greer. So I know probably none of you have heard of it because it's not in the United States. Really kind of cool too. All of the Irish whiskey comes in incredible packaging. I don't know where they spend all their money on packaging, but they're pretty good at it, I have to say. But yeah, so Kirker and Greer, I have some notes on this one, and then we'll taste it. This is a single grain, so this isn't a single malt. This isn't a pot still. This is a single grain. So we don't know exactly what the grain is. Maybe when we taste it, we could guess, but it is a single grain. It's 10 years old. So Kirker and Greer, it's kind of an interesting company. They're out of Belfast, so Northern Ireland, but they're a spirits company. So they actually do bottlings under different brands of whiskeys from 4 different continents. So they actually have some Japanese whiskey that they bottle. It's actually a highball. So they do a kind of weird mix of highballs. They actually have an American bourbon, a straight bourbon that's part of their portfolio. They have a lot of random kind of whiskeys, but they're in Ireland, and they also have access to some pretty good stuff in Ireland. So this is a single grain. This is 56% ABV, so we are starting out quite high. This was seasoned, rested in seasoned bourbon casks for a minimum of 10 years before being bottled at cask strength. It is chill filtered, so this is not an unchill filtered bottling. So that means they did filter this. And it was kind of interesting. So speaking of Ireland and how incredible Ireland was making whiskey 100 years ago, Kirker and Greer was originally founded in 1885 by Archibald Kirker and William Greer. They went on to found the Connswater distillery. None of us have heard of Connswater, but that was in Belfast, and it was one of Ireland's biggest exporters of whiskey at the time. So it's another one of those brands that has taken history and is trying to, I don't know, they're not imitating what they were making 120, 130 years ago, but you know, they're using history as kind of the reason behind starting this new spirits brand. So cheers, Sláinte, everybody. I hope we have a really wonderful tasting tonight. I have not tasted any of these, so I am in this to win it with you. I'm really looking forward to trying all of these. So feel free to you know, add any comments in the chat room or speak up. Doug, I see your question there. You know, it's a really good question. You know, normally you don't have high ABV whiskeys that are chill filtered because you want to keep the oils and some of the other flavors that come from non-chill filter. So I don't know. I really can't answer that question. It's a really good question. It's pretty uncommon to see something above 50% really that is still chill filtered. So
what is chill filtering? I am unfamiliar with that term.
Yeah, so basically when you have whiskeys made by you know, big distilleries that are producing, you know, mass quantities, when they have low ABV whiskeys, typically they are chill filtering, because what that does is it creates a consistency, and it's basically a method of literally filtering the whiskey, and it's removing some of the you know, what they would call impurities, but what a whiskey purist would really like to taste. So there's a lot of controversy over whether or not things should be chill filtered or not. And like it was mentioned in the chat room by Doug, you know, part of it is because when you non-chill filter a whiskey, there is the potential for it to be cloudy. And so brands, when they have these bottles up on the shelf, the last thing they want is the consumer looking at these bottles and thinking there's something wrong with them. So chill filtering does remove some of those oils that do cause that maybe cloudiness to appear. You know, but you really only see it with very low ABV whiskeys. When you have a higher ABV, I mean, you really don't want to strip it of any of its flavors. So non-chill filter is quite rare for over 50%. Any guesses on the grain? I haven't tasted it yet. I'm curious what Holly thinks. She's in the room with the other crowd. She's taming the animals in the other room. So. Huh.
My initial tastes were just full of rum raisin ice cream. That's tempered a little bit. I find the finish is now getting a little bit more on the bitter side.
So they do have a regular 10-year release, single grain, and then this is their cash strength edition. Yeah, I definitely get that rum raisin on the palate for sure.
But it was smooth on the palate, and it did get bitter as it went down.
Yeah. Yeah, no, so this is going to be sourced from somewhere. They don't say that where it's sourced from. It is triple distilled, like most Irish whiskey is. Actually, you know what, Doug? The notes online said chill filtered, but the bottle says non-chill filtered. So there we go. What do you know?
That makes more sense.
Yeah, I know. So I don't know why they said that in the. This was off of their website. What I was reading. So.
Oops.
Must have been an intern.
Yeah. It was really funny. We had a distillery at the shop about, I want to say a month and a half ago, and they were from Long Island, and the owner, the master distiller, he did it all basically. He was in the shop, and Holly was looking at the label on the back of the bottle, and we had asked him what the mash bill was. And he was like, oh yeah, it's 70% rye, 20% something, and 20 and 10% barley or whatever. And Holly's looking at the back of the back of the bottle, and she's like, that's not what it says on the bottle. It was quite different. It was like 85 rye and 10 something, and his face just like turned bright red. It was definitely one of those situations where somebody really effed up big time, because he ended up, it turned bright red, and then he got angry. He was like mad. He was like, how could that happen? So it was kind of funny.
Was he right, or was the label right?
Oh no, he was right. The label was wrong. Yeah, that's why he was so upset. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I need to get a dropper.
Water didn't do it for me.
No.
No?
Mm.
Okay. All right. Well, this was the
I like it
gamble.
with the water.
Again, this is a pre-tasting dram that, you know, I thought to throw in the mix and see.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. I tend to do that a lot when I see names that I've never heard of before, and they're not in the States.
Proclava.
Proclava. Okay. All right. Cleanse your palate. Do whatever you can. Chocolate, crackers, water. definitely cleanse your palate because we're going to Dingle.
Uh-oh.
I'm pretty excited about this one. I'm a really big Dingle fan. We went to the distillery in 2016, and we were there in September, and they were releasing their first batch of their single malt in November. And so we weren't able to buy it when we were visiting, but we did taste it. We actually tasted some right out of the barrel, and we were pretty excited about it. We did end up getting batch 1 of the single malt. Actually, A-Rod, who's online with us, there's our crew in the boat. That was 2016 right there. That was such a fun boat ride. We were sipping whiskey on the boat, but
Was that with Dingle?
Right.
no, that was actually in Killarney there, but we, A-Rod and I were the only 2 people to actually pick up the batch 1 cash strength.
Wow.
And I think I got bottle 13 and you got, we had it shipped over from Celtic Whiskey Shop, but.
Yeah, I think mine's like 41, maybe.
Yeah, nice. And I mean, I actually, the other day, I looked online just to see if I could get an idea of what those go for now. And the only thing I saw was, there was an auction from like 4 years ago, and they were going for about £1,000. And that was for batch 1. So the cash strength, and I bet it's going for probably closer to £2,000 at this point. But yeah, so that was pretty exciting to get that bottle. All right, so we're gonna go to Dingle. I've got a bunch of notes on this bottle. This one I'm really excited to try.
Nose is sensational.
Yeah, so this is batch 6. So, you know, I just mentioned that we were there before they released batch 1. So now we're on batch 6. This is the final batch. They're not doing another batch of single malt like this. They do have recently a pot still that was
Smell this kit.
they have different pot stills, but this is the last batch of Dingle single malt, which is pretty cool. Now this is matured exclusively in port. That's why I really wanted you to cleanse your palate, because you know you want to definitely pick up that port flavor. So here's batch 6. You can see that or not?
Charles, do you have any idea as to why they're discontinuing and both in making them and then in shipping them to the States?
So what I understand, I mean, I don't know about why batch 6 is their last. I think they've tried, and I'm going to go through all of the different batches and how each of them are different. They've really done the whole gamut of different types of casks. And I think that was part of their thought process behind these initial single malt batches, was that they wanted to show how they can make great spirit, but that it could be aged in different types of oak, and you know, have different flavors. So they have all of these different releases, but they've kind of done them all. You know, they've done all of the different types of casks. So you know, I think they're going to get on to more. They're focusing heavily on their pot still. You know, pot still is a hot thing right now. And pot still whiskey is, you know, the combination of malted and unmalted barley. This is single malt, so this is 100% malted barley that we're tasting tonight. But they do a pot still, and I haven't tasted it yet, but I've heard really great things. That hasn't come here yet either. I'm not sure. I mean, we heard from our rep actually like a week ago or so that you know, batch 5 was going to be going through one of those like Flaviar type companies. So they're actually working on some deals with one of those companies. It's not Flaviar. I can't remember the name of Distilled. I can't remember the name of it, but there's another similar kind of company. So they're working some exclusive things. So they're trying to get away from the traditional 3-tiered system, you know, and dealing with all of that, which is horrible for us, you know, because we love having batch 4 on our shelf. We actually sold out. Now we can't get any more. I had somebody come in last week and buy the last 3 that we had, and that's it. So I don't know if we're ever going to be able to get Dingle single malt back on our shelf anytime soon. So
That's so sad.
I know it is. It really is. And you know, I think part of it was what we've all gone through in the last couple of years. You know, a lot of these companies have had to pivot and change, and you know, they were never a big player in the United States to begin with. They were heavy in Massachusetts, but you know, they weren't really big in New York. And you know, so Massachusetts always kind of gets the first. Massachusetts and California, they get like the first batch of Irish stuff that comes through, and then the rest of the country kind of filters in after that. So yeah, I don't know. So I'm going to read some about this. I have some quotes from a couple of different people at the distillery. So we have Elliot Hughes. He's the managing director at Dingle. He says, "We're delighted to launch our single malt batch 6, the last in a series of carefully curated whiskeys. This launch will be of particular interest to those who have followed our journey since our first batch release in 2016, but also for those who want to experience the art of the Dingle whiskey distilling process through the final single malt batch in the series. At Dingle Distillery, we always endeavor to create really special and unique products, and we think this is evident in batch 6. And then we have Graham Cool, who's the master distiller. He says it's fully matured exclusively in tawny port casks. It's a great example of the interaction between single malt and fortified wine, multiple layers, da, 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 da. So the series went, so batch 1 was, let's see, exclusively in bourbon. Batch 2 was sherry, which was a combination of Pedro Jimenez and Oloroso and bourbon casks. Batch 3 was bourbon and port, so they did combine the 2. Batch 4 was 3 casks, so bourbon, sherry, and port, so all 3 of them. Batch 5 was ex-bourbon, Pedro Jimenez, and Madeira. And then here we are with batch 6, which is fully tawny port. So pretty cool that we're able to try this. You know, you can probably get it if you're over in Ireland, but it's going to be pretty hard to taste this anytime soon in the United States. So cheers, everybody. Hope you enjoy it.
Gotcha.
Oh, and this one is, what was this, 46 and a half? Let's see. Yeah, 46.5 ABV.
Can you show the bottle again, please?
Yep.
That's a delicious one.
It is, right?
And it's really different. It's got a almost like a candy-ish flavor to it, almost like a sweet tart, but very floral.
On the back end, I actually almost taste almond.
Yeah, I get a little bit of that.
Yeah,
Like an almond extract.
Yeah.
I'm getting oh, what's the violet flower? Not violets, but lavender. A little bit of lavender.
Uh-huh. Yeah, the strawberry.
Not on the not on the nose, but on the palate.
Yeah.
Well, long
I
lasting
mean,
finish.
Yeah. I mean, I get a little bit of a synesthesia with this. It's a purple flavor.
Definitely
This would
has
be-
that red berries.
This would be a good stumper for the advent calendar. None other day we would get Irish from this.
It would
No,
be
that's-
hard.
What would I guess for this? Though? That's the thing. I would guess Scotland or Japan.
You know, with Ireland now, it's hard to know. You know, there's so many different styles of whiskey coming out of Ireland. It's actually what's making Ireland so great, I think. You know, we have Waterford, you know, really focusing on just single malt, and then you have, you know, a great distillery like Dingle doing both pot still and single malt. I don't know, it's just a lot of fun.
I
Teeling,
guess we just have to go back. We just have to go back to Dingle.
yeah. Yeah, Amaris has a picture there of, he was the distiller at the time. He's no longer there. Really great guy. I'm trying to remember his name, but
Michael.
yeah, Michael, right? Yeah. We spent the whole. They closed the distillery for us so that we could spend the entire day with them. This was back in 2016. It was a really special. They put a sign outside the distillery saying closed for a private group. Sorry, you know, this was again early days. This was not, you know, 2016, so 6 years ago. And we literally got to do the entire process at the distillery. So that was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's the picture from the
Oh,
outside.
there it is. Yeah. There. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. But then we had David and Diane were with us on our last trip, and they're here online with us tonight. I think we tried batch 5 when we were there. We did 4 and 5, I believe. So they did a special little taste for us of that of batch 5.
Was that in 2019, Charles?
Yeah.
I think I don't know if I tasted 5 when I was there. I was there in April of 2019.
Yeah, I think it came
You
out.
were in September.
Yeah, it was in the fall, I believe, when they released.
Yeah, it might have been 4 then that I tasted there.
This is really good.
This is really good.
Really nice.
It's unique too. I mean, it's not like any other whiskey I've ever tasted.
I love port casks.
I'll have to remember that. Poor casks.
Now, port casks tend to be large too.
Oh, they're huge. They're called
Yeah.
pipes, port pipes.
Yeah.
Really big. Yeah. Larger than sherry butts.
What did you say they're called?
Pipes.
Port pipes.
Hmm. Really sad. I literally poured everybody the last drops that I had of this, so I got just as much as you did.
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to order some more bottles from across the pond, I guess. Wow.
You know, I wonder how much of it they made.
I think they said it was. I think I read somewhere it was like 15,000. I don't know. I think it's something like that.
Any idea what it retails for?
Well, Doug just put up a link.
70 euros.
Yeah, there you go. It's around
Plus shipping.
Plus shipping.
$100, more or less, somewhere in that.
Is that what it is now?
Well, no,
in
that
terms
was
of
with shipping and with everything. I think it came out
okay.
for around $100.
You
I
definitely
remember-
want to group the shipping if you can.
I remember the shipping was really expensive when I ordered from Celtic Whiskey Shop. Holy cow. But Hard to Find Whiskey was free because I ordered enough. If you order like over 500 pounds from them, it's free shipping. So you have to spend a lot of money to get free shipping. But Celtic Whiskey Shop, it came out to like $35 a bottle. It was a lot of money just to ship it over. It was almost half the price of the Dingle itself. And that's where I got this from, was from the Celtic Whiskey Shop. Okay, we're going to keep going here. We're going to go to Writer's Tears. Now talk
Which
about,
sounds an awful lot like rioters' tears.
yeah, writers' tears. There's some people doing that in Russia right now. Let's see here. All right, so remember I was talking about packaging and how the Irish are crazy for packaging. I mean, Dingle is nothing, Dingle has decent packaging. This tube is pretty nice. I mean, a lot of whiskeys don't come in a tube, I mean, now Writer's Tears is like takes it to a whole nother level. This is just kind of crazy. This is, and actually the next 3 or 4 whiskeys are all kind of like this. So here's the box. It came in this massive box. This is wood. All right, so this is paper or cardboard. This is wood, and then it's this slided out, fancy, like really fancy. Even has a hole in the top. I mean,
Ooh,
Wow.
ah.
yeah. I mean, we have the woodworkers convention coming to Saratoga pretty soon. I know Dale. I don't think he's with us tonight, but Dale Lombardo is a big woodworker. I mean, this is not a cheap box to make. I don't know how they do it. All right, so we're going to Writer's Tears. We've had a lot of Writer's Tears with the club over the years. It's actually one of the brands that we do like quite a bit. They were part of the Walsh distillery for a long time. And actually in 2016, that was my first time to the Walsh distillery, and went back in 2019, and they don't make Writer's Tears has nothing to do with them anymore. So basically there was this family called the Walsh family. Let me see it. Okay, I'm going to actually read it here. Established by Bernard and Rosemary Walsh in 1999. Walsh Whiskey is a family business dedicated to playing with what's described as a part in the revival of Irish whiskey as one of the world's most appreciated spirits. Writer's Tears release is inspired by the so-called golden era of Irish whiskey, pot still distillation, and its bond with creative thinkers and artists that defined Irish culture in the 19th and early 20th century, including writers such as George Bernard Shaw, Oscar Wilde, W.B. Yeats, Lady Gregory, there was James Joyce, there were some other people. So, the Writer's Tears is, coming from the writers of Ireland. It was interesting when we were there in 2016, I remember they said that the family, the couple that started the business, they actually worked in, I think it was Switzerland or Austria, I can't remember which country it was, but they were working in a ski resort area, and they had perfected the art of making an incredible Irish coffee, and the people who were skiing loved it. It became like a sensation. I mean, Irish coffee is had all over the world, but whatever they did in Austria or Switzerland made them a lot of money. And that's when they came back to Ireland and they're like, hey, we need to get into the whiskey business because we know how to make Irish coffee. And so they started up Walsh Whiskey. Now, Walsh Whiskey is now made, or Writer's Tears is now made at Middleton in Cork, just outside of Cork. So that's where Jameson is made, Redbreast, Powers, all of the big Middleton brands. So Writer's Tears.
Method in Madness.
But yeah, Method in Madness. So Writer's Tears, they actually tell Middleton, what to do, what their recipe should be, and they contract distill at Middleton. So no longer associated with Walsh Whiskey. Excuse me, the old distillery. It's actually a new name now. It's called, what's it called? Royal Oak Distillery. So they actually changed the name of the distillery. And some of you might have seen in liquor stores, Buskers. Buskers is an Irish whiskey. It's a lower end kind of. They have different ones. They have a single malt and a pot still and a blend. But that is actually what's made now at Royal Oak. So lots of changes have happened. But this is the Riders Tier, so now they're getting kind of fancy. They're doing a limited edition every year. This is their cash strength limited edition. This one's 54.2%. I'll read a little bit about this bottle. It's a rare vatting of aged single pot still and single malt. So that's what makes Riders Tiers unique. They're one of the only whiskeys coming out of Ireland that actually combines the two styles. Usually you have one or the other. You have pot still or single malt, but you rarely have both combined. And actually, I think it's a really great combination. I've always enjoyed Riders Tiers. It's unique. You know, you don't have people doing that where they're combining that two different styles.
Charles, is that throughout the Riders Tiers?
Yes, that's what makes them unique. Yep.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yep. Triple distilled, non-chill filtered, aged in bourbon barrels, 54.2%. So this one, each of the special bottlings carries the signature of one of the creators. This one is Bernard Walsh on this one. So here's a little quote by them. Cask strength Irish whiskey is still quite rare, but our vatting combining both pot still and single malt is truly unique. While still a very limited number, we are pleased to be able to offer 6,000 bottles this year to our growing worldwide community. So this is a really great, I mean, if you want Riders Tiers, you know, what is Riders Tiers? This is what you want. You want a cask strength. This is literally what's coming out of the barrel. So this is going to be the full effect. 1,500 bottles are destined for the United States, 4,500 distributed across the rest of the world. So who knows where those 1,500 bottles went or came, or if you could even find them. But I had this one shipped over from actually Celtic Whiskey Shop as well. This was more expensive. This was $160, $170 at least.
So I would have expected this to taste hotter given the 54.2. Does the pot still sort of mute the single malt a little bit? Is that?
Well, I mean, pot still shouldn't. If anything, single malt might.
It'll be the other way around. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be the other way around. But I haven't tasted it yet, so let me think. Let me see what I get. You definitely get a lot of that sweetness again. We've kind of gone back to that sweetness that we know more so with Irish whiskey. You know, the port gives it a different berry note, but the bourbon, I mean, this is a true bourbon cask sweetness that you're getting here.
Yeah, it's a very different sweetness than what was in the Dingle.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, clearly, yeah.
This is more of the traditional Irish sweetness. You know, if I were to, this is one that it was in the calendar, you would probably say Irish, or at least I would think Irish.
Yeah.
Don't judge. Don't judge. Oh, there's the invisible cat again.
That's right. Asian.
It's actually, I quite like it.
It's very good.
It's very clean. You know, they definitely put some effort into this one. I don't know if you've ever had the regular Riders Tiers. It's pretty solid for a very cheap bottle. It's like $30, and then they have the double oak, which is also very good. We did a really special Mizunara cask one at one point, which was fantastic. They do some really fun special releases quite often, and definitely a fun brand to kind of follow.
Love the name.
Yeah.
Very Irish, poetic.
Sounds like the group in the shop likes it. So. So, you know, The Irishman, some of you might have seen The Irishman. So that was also a Walsh whiskey release. So they do Writer's Tears, and they do The Irishman as well. And that one's done really well for them. We have The Irishman cask strength, or actually we had it. I don't think we have it anymore, but that one was a pretty good release. Yeah, no, I think you're right, John. I think I prefer the Dingle as well, but this is actually really pretty solid, though, I have to say. It's growing on me more and more as I sip it and nose it.
I don't dislike it. I mean, I like it.
Right.
But I don't love it. Not for the what the cost is.
Yeah.
And they didn't give you all that product placement swag, John, like the Dingle folks did.
Oh, they didn't give this to me. I bought it.
You've got the photo in the back, the T-shirt.
I
on,
took it.
The baseball
I
hat's
took
probably
the
behind you.
photo. I bought the shirt. I
Laughed,
paid
I
for my
cried.
trip.
I'll see it again and again.
Yeah. Now this is not. This is only bought by me.
Now, come on, guys. There's no Chichibu bias here, you know.
Dingle fanboy.
I am a Dingle fanboy. I admit it. I
I am too. I have a
think-
jacket. I'm a big Dingle fanboy. I mean, I love Dingle.
You know, and one thing I love about Dingle is that their gin is just as great a gin as their whiskeys are to whiskey.
Yeah, their gin is actually what's really putting them on the map worldwide. They're doing
That's how I was.
they're doing much better with their gin globally than they are with their whiskey.
Do they use berries in their gin? The Dingle berries?
Exactly. That's what makes it special. The nose. Oh my goodness, the nose.
Only you, Doug. Only you.
So is there gin a London
I
dry?
was
or
just
is
hanging
it-
there like low
Yeah.
fruit, you know?
Oh God!
Literally.
You see what I did there?
All right, yeah, we're going
that
south.
joke
quick.
stunk.
We've only had 3 whiskeys, and we're talking
That
about
joke stinks.
going
Back to
south.
Dingle again. Oh my God.
You know, we have quite a few women joining us now, Doug. So let's keep it real here. All right.
Uh-oh, just got the hand slap from HR.
All right.
Sound like you're getting a little Phil Chiltered there.
Oh boy. All right, so I've got a lot of notes on this next one. So I guess we'll just go ahead and jump into the Renaissance series. So we've done a couple of these already with the club. This is actually the last series of the Renaissance. So here we are with the last batch of Dingle, and we're doing the last Teeling Renaissance. A year ago, we had our Irish whiskey to-go dinner. Some of you remember that. That was a lot of fun. We did Teeling Renaissance batch number 3. So here we are a year later, we're doing Teeling Renaissance batch number 4.
Ooh, 18 years.
Yeah, so this is an 18-year single malt.
Knows.
And I have a lot of information on this one. So let me also look at this packaging, you know, big box. You know, they really, really take it up a notch. It's kind of hard to do that. I've never done that before, but yeah, almost broke my computer.
You got a wheeze at a dock.
Yeah. I have good reflexes though. All right, let me pour myself a little bit of this.
Nice. I like this one.
I'm getting a lot of anise in this.
Okay, all right, let's talk about this one. Teeling. All right, so a lot of us know Teeling. Actually, we're doing 3 Teelings still in this tasting. So Teeling obviously is going to be a big portion of this tasting tonight. So Teeling's out of Dublin. They were the first distillery to start up again in Dublin after all the distilleries went under. Dublin was a huge mecca of distilleries back in the 19th century, huge. You know, again, whiskey capital of the world basically was Ireland. So Dublin was a really big part of that. It was also, you know, a dangerous place to be because all of these distilleries were very close to each other and lots of barrels were being aged. And there are certain parts of Dublin that, you know, these were all located, and they did have a massive fire, and it did burn down a lot of whiskey and distilleries back in the day. And it took a long time for Dublin to actually be okay with actually having a distillery right in the heart of the Liberties, which is where all of those distilleries were located back in the day. So Teeling was the first. Now there are a handful. There's 5 or so distilleries that are all in the area. However, they're not maturing their whiskey on site. All barrels are off-site. They're out of the city. It's just too dangerous. They've learned their lesson, and they've stopped doing that. So the Renaissance, we've gone through 3 bottles before, but this is number 4. It's limited edition, award-winning, and it's single malt. It was launched in 2019, so not that long ago. Crafted to celebrate the true global renaissance of Teeling, Dublin and Irish whiskey, as it continues to be the fastest growing premium spirit in the world, supported by the vibrancy of the many new entrants. Renaissance Series 4th bottling follows on from the first 3, which were honored with awards such as gold at both 2020 International Wine and Spirits Competition and the 2020 Irish Whiskey Masters, as well as the recent honor of the Irish Whiskey Single Malt Master at the 2021 Irish Whiskey Masters. So they obviously they're in the top group there. It's let's see here. So each release in the series consists of a rare aged Irish single malt that has had a unique cask maturation and bottled at 46%. The Renaissance is a key part of Teeling Whiskey's range. Blah, blah, blah. They're talking about all their awards. Okay, so there's 9,000 bottles. It's an 18-year-old single malt, aged initially in ex-bourbon barrels for 16 years before being finished in high-quality ex-red Pineau de Charentes fortified wine casks, imparting pressed grape and candied dried fruit flavors of apricot and pineapple character. So 9,000 bottles. This one, it says it's 140 euros. I don't remember what I paid for it. It was probably somewhere in that ballpark. So all of them have had, you know, very unique casks. And I think that's what makes the Renaissance series quite unique. And again, 18-year-old. Now, this is not whiskey that they distilled. They have not been around 18 years. This is sourced from Cooley. So the Teeling family actually comes from Cooley. The father of the 2 brothers that run Teeling right now came from Cooley. So they have access to some really great old stock of whiskey at Cooley. For those of you who don't know, Cooley was one of the, you know, there were only a couple of distilleries that made it through the entire downfall of the Irish whiskey revolution, or Irish whiskey meltdown. We had Middleton and Bushmills. Those were really the two. And then Cooley came on board. You know, they were kind of the third large producer back in, I think in the 70s is when Cooley came on board. So they've been around a long time, and there's a lot of newer distilleries that are accessing stock from Cooley to use to at least have something to offer to the public. However, Teeling has access to really special bottlings or casks, but they also release their own stuff too at this point. They've been around long enough to release their own whiskey. Their pot still we have in the shop, and it's really great. So we have some comments here. So this is from Jack Teeling. He's the founder. He says, we are honored to be launching the 4th release of our very popular and award-winning Renaissance series. Celebratory bottle, again, Renaissance of Dublin as the epicenter for world-class city-based whiskey distillation. Let me see if there's anything of interest here. Yeah, I just have some notes. So if we want to talk about notes of this whiskey, we can do that. They say here, these are the official notes: nose of candied dry fruits and pressed grape with floral notes. The palate is apricot, pineapple, and toasted almonds with clove spice. And the finish is dry finish with a return of soft spices and hints of sweet cherries.
It's my second favorite of the night so far.
Ooh. Ooh, wow. I'm actually getting like a buttery popcorn cherry note on the back. It's this really, wow.
Yeah, I could see that.
I think that's from the age. Yeah, this is 46%, George. Oh, beautiful nose. Oh, wow. Yeah, so this is one that doesn't come to the United States. They don't have the Renaissance series come here. It does go to Europe and some Asian markets, but it doesn't come to the United States.
This is really nicely balanced.
I
Very
agree.
nicely balanced.
Yeah.
Yes. Very.
Oh, wow. I could sip this for a while. This is pretty good. I think I got the first series at duty free a few years in 2019 when we came back. I think we actually had that bottle in an Irish tasting in 2019 after we got back from our trip. So that would have been the first release.
Holly, the blueberries, brilliant.
Yeah, they're like they pop in your mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that dry finish, Larry.
Yeah.
that comes from that that wine barrel,
Surely, yeah.
you know, for sure. You know, any kind of fortified wine is going to really lend at, you know, even, you know, sometimes port, even though port's juicier and a little bit more sweet and all of that. But you still get a tiny, I don't know, I get a little, I get maybe more chocolate notes with port or cocoa. But when you get like fortified red wine, which is, I mean, technically port as well. I don't know, it seems to be pretty dry. You know, it lingers. And then, you know, you think about like even our the Starward single barrel that we did with the Shiraz, you know, red wine, you know, that has actually quite a dry finish as well. And you know, the tannins definitely play a part in that, which I think that's where that comes from. This is really nice though. I'm enjoying this one a lot. I like this one more than a Dingle, I have to say, but.
I could see this is more of a classic whiskey than the Dingle is. I mean, the Dingle is more of a unique flavor profile. And this is very, very well done, but it's not really a unique profile.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with that type of red wine cask, I mean, it's pretty unique.
I'm not saying that the way they've done it. I'm saying that the flavor profile is not, you know, it's much more in a classic vein for a whiskey than what was coming out of the Dingle.
Yeah.
I mean, this is pretty damn good whiskey. I agree on that.
Well, these have been terrific. I can't wait for 5, 6, and 7.
They're not, this is it. No more. Yeah, all these people are giving up on the series, you know.
I think you meant 5, 6, and 7 yet to go tonight.
No,
I did, but that's all right. We let him just go on.
We're done. Good night.
So do you have any idea what Teeling has up their sleeve for their next series? Because presumably that's what they're going to do, right? Is something different?
Oh, I've seen, you know, they're releasing some, again, it's not their own juice, but they're releasing some really old whiskey, like over 30-year, very expensive, obviously. But you know, their pot still has done really well for them. So if anything, I see them getting more into that, which really seems to be the kind of hot category right now in the Irish world, is the pot still whiskeys, even though Waterford is really, you know, making a name for single malt in Ireland as well. But you know, for something that's truly unique to Ireland, pot still is definitely the way to go. I don't know, you know, there's going to be some interesting things that come out of Teeling. Teeling is always thinking about, you know, new ways to change things up. So as we'll see as we taste these next few whiskeys as well. You know, I've been there a few times, and you know, you can do hand fill bottles there too, and we've done that with the club where you can actually fill your own bottle at the distillery, and those are casks that you would not assume Irish whiskey is commonly aged in. So you know, they're really playing around with a lot of different casks in a good way. Okay, so speaking of which, let's go to number 5. We aren't done. The series is not over. Trying to make up for my faux pas. So we're going to another Teeling. This is a 13-year. Now this is a single grain. So remember, going back to the first whiskey we had tonight, that was a single grain, the Kirker and Greer. However, this one is in Bordeaux casks. Let me get the bottle. When I saw this one, I was like, okay, we got to try this. This is one of those that you're not going to get too many opportunities to try. So here's the bottle. Says right on there, 13-year single grain. This one is 50% ABV. So a little higher than the Renaissance. These are all 700 mLs. These are not 750s. That's why, you know, the pours in our bottles are what they are. I did limit this to fewer people too, because I knew they were all 700. That's what makes this tasting special as well. This is Bordeaux red wine. So this is definitely, you know, something unique. I do have some notes on this one. So 13-year-old consists of triple distilled Irish whiskey, distilled predominantly from maize, corn, and first matured for 9 years in ex-bourbon before being given extra maturation for over 4 years in ex-Bordeaux red wine casks. That's a long time in Bordeaux. Bottled at 50%. Here's a quote. It's a little known fact that the majority of Irish whiskey sold is actually grain whiskey, as it makes up the majority of the composition in big multinational owned brands of Irish whiskey. So when we think about Jameson, Jameson is a blend. The only way it can be a blend is if there's some grain whiskey in it. Grain whiskey makes up a big part of Jameson. That's why it's so sweet. And that's why it gives you such a headache if you had too much of it. So that's what Jack Teeling is talking about. As such, since our formation, we have been keen to ensure we offered unique and interesting expressions of Teeling single grain whiskey. Our new 13-year-old release is a further representation of our mission to help drive the continued expansion of the Irish whiskey category through unique bottlings and expressions. This release is Teeling's second and oldest release of single grain. It follows the distillery's core offering of single grain, which was released in 2013. And if you've had their core offerings, which would be their single malt, their single grain, the single grain is really great. You know, people see single grain on a label and they think, oh, it's not going to be what I want or whatever. And it's actually, I think it's the best of their core range. Now, I'm not talking about the pot still, but I'm talking about their regular single malt, their regular single grain, and then they have a regular small batch. The single grain is definitely the best of the three. Dual cask maturation, so bourbon gives it the beautiful base of sweet vanilla and caramel with buttery oak, which is then complemented by the extra aging in Bordeaux, which gives the bouquet of red berry and soft orchard fruits with honey notes. So here are the official tasting notes. Nose is rose water, ripe cherries, cinnamon, and red fruits. The taste is summer fruits, berry jam, vanilla cream, soft orchard fruits with honey notes. And the finish is spice, dry tannins, toasted oak, and lingering wormwood notes. So there you go. I haven't tasted it yet. I've been just talking. So
Hey, Charles, I was reading about this earlier today, and if I'm remembering correctly, it's not just predominantly corn, it's like 95% corn, which is higher than a lot of bourbons.
Yeah, no, oh, for sure. So, you know, when we see single grain in other countries, you know, and it is corn, it's basically a bourbon, you know, it's just can't be called bourbon, you know, and who knows, it's not aged necessarily in a new charred American oak barrel as well, which would, you know, again, make it a quote unquote bourbon. But, you know, when we see like Japanese single grains and when we see actually single grains coming out of Scotland, you know, a lot of times it is corn. You know, corn is still the predominant grain. You know, wheat would be the second option that you would see most used for blends. So it's going to be one of the two, usually. Occasionally there's something else, but you know, corn or wheat are usually the single grains that you're going to find. So, you know, that's what's kind of fun, you know, like with the calendar, when we do single grains out of Japan, some of them might taste like a bourbon even, you know, because it's corn and, you know, who knows what the maturation is, but
I think the Bordeaux keeps this from tasting like a bourbon.
Mm.
The 4 years in a red wine cask.
ooh,
I mean, I wouldn't think this was a bourbon at all.
no. But again, it most likely wasn't also in a new charred American oak barrel.
No. No,
So, you know, it was in an ex-bourbon barrel, and then it was put into a Bordeaux barrel. So you're definitely not going to get the same intense bourbon notes that we get here in the US. You know.
But I mean, if I was guessing, I think I would have guessed wheat.
Uh-huh.
Well,
I've been way wrong.
we've had red wine finished bourbons, and I think compared to them, this is, you know, not as sweet and,
Yeah.
and fruitier.
I would agree.
Spicy. Yeah.
Like Bardstown Bourbon Company.
Right.
Yeah. This is pretty nice though for a single grain. You know, it's definitely an underrated category in Scotland as well. And it's unfortunate because some of the older single grains in Scotland are much better than the single malts. It's just people see single grain and they're like, what, you know, they don't, it just doesn't click. It's still not it's like light whiskey. You know, we have light whiskey in the shop now. People think, I don't want light whiskey. I mean, the heck is that? You know, it turns out to be one of the best things that we have. And single grain is kind of the same thing. It's just gets a bad rap.
Well, light whiskey, people think it's just fewer calories.
And they're wrong.
This is pretty tasty. I like this one.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
Getting a lot of chocolate notes in it.
Getting like a
And the finish especially.
raspberry chocolate note.
Mm.
Little cocoa there, right at the swallow.
Yeah, right in the finish.
You know, what's interesting about tonight with these whiskeys is we're all tending to favor a little bit more of the wine finishes. You know, we had the port, you know, with the Dingle, and then we went to the writer's tiers and it was bourbon, and everybody was like, now we're back to this kind of tangy, sweet Irish, whatever. And then we went right to the Renaissance with the red wine, fortified red wine, and and now we're at this other Bordeaux. You know, it seems to be a trend tonight that we're kind of leaning towards this red wine or fortified red wine side of it.
I wasn't crazy about the balance of the writer's tiers. I mean, I like the flavor, I guess, well enough, but it just didn't strike me. There's something that struck me as being a little bit off. It was good,
Yeah.
but it really, you know, I mean, when you look at it, the only things that haven't been wine finished are the writer's tiers and the Kirker and Greer.
Yeah, no, the first and third, yeah.
So maybe that's why there's but these wine finishes are really quite nicely done.
Yeah, they are nice, but they're very unusual for Irish whiskey. So what we get at the bar here in the States is not this. We're not getting, I mean, yes, Clonakilty has their port finish, Irish whiskey, and it's fine. Actually, if I see that at a bar, I will probably order that, or the Writer's Tears Double Oak is pretty good as well, but there's not a lot of great red wine. You're not going to see a lot of red wine stuff in the Irish world. It's just pretty rare from what we have in the standard offerings, so it's kind of fun.
Maybe it's a question of price point.
Well, sure. I mean, yeah, no doubt. I mean, we had the Redbreast the Lustow, which was the sherry cask pot still, and that was great. And actually, that was reasonable. It was $75 a bottle, something like that. That was affordable enough for a bar to actually put that on their shelf. So that was probably the closest we've gotten to a full maturation. The Clonakilty is just the finish. So there's not a lot of full or a lot of red wine or kind of that influence sherry on most Irish. So. Okay, how are we doing? We doing all right?
All right.
Okay. So I have a lot of notes on this next one.
That's good, because it's totally unfamiliar.
Good. That's what these tastings are all about. All right, so how many of you have heard of Power Score? Anybody? Power Score Distillery? Yeah, Diane and David.
Powers. It's not Powers?
No. So there's a new distillery called Power Score, and I went there first with my family in the summer of 2019, and then I took my group there in the fall. They're fairly new. I can't remember the date. Actually, I don't have it here in my notes, the date that they opened. But it's fairly recent. It's got to be like 2017, something like that, 2016, 2017. And they're right in, they're just south of Dublin. They're right in the Wicklow Mountain area. So beautiful, beautiful area. That's where Glendalough is. And a lot of you know Glendalough. But Powers Court is right there. They're actually on quite a beautiful estate. But what makes Powers Court so awesome and exciting is that their master distiller is an Irish whiskey Hall of Famer. He is a true legend in the game. His name is Noel Sweeney. He is absolutely incredible. This guy was at Cooley forever. He was there a long, long time as their distiller. He finally left. He was like, I need to start something with a new company, a new distillery, and he went to Powers Court, and they have a beautiful, beautiful location, beautiful, beautiful stills. Everything is really nice there. And we met him. He was there, which was really exciting to meet him because he's a legend in Ireland. But so he's basically has, like Teeling does, he has access to quite incredible casks at Cooley because that's where he came from. And he's got a lot of pull, so he can pretty much get what he needs. Now they are making, their own spirit. It's just young and it's not ready to be put out into the world yet. So Fercullen is the brand that they have been releasing their older stock whiskey under. And when we were there in 2019, I can't remember the age statements of the Fercullen. I think it was a 16. I think they had a 16-year. They might have also had a 12-year, but we did a tasting in their room there, and it was really great. They tasted us on a bunch of things, but I'll read about this one because this is a pretty special one, and I've never had a Fercullen this old before. So they have a dish, they have a series also. A lot of these Irish distilleries have series. So we have a Renaissance, Dingle has their batches. Actually, our last whiskey of the night is another Teeling, which is the Brabazon series. So they all have these series, it's one way to keep your whiskey enthusiast enthused, right? You're waiting for the next release. So their series is called the 5 Elements. This is a limited edition, 20-year-old single malt. Okay, so now we're going back to single malt. We're not single grain anymore. So following the glowing reception and success of the 2020 release of the first 5 Elements, which was an 18-year-old single malt, master distiller Noel Sweeney has unveiled his latest expression, which is just 1,500 bottles. So this is a very, very limited, compared to what we've been tasting, this is more limited. So this is what 5 Elements means, because this is all new to me. I did not taste the first release. Number 1, a single distillery source. Number 2, 2 types of oak maturation, American white oak and European oak. Number 3, 4 finishes, Oloroso sherry, Pedro Jimenez, Marsala, and Muscatel casks. Number 4, 5 styles, Oloroso sherry, Pedro Jimenez, Marsala, Muscatel, and bourbon. And number 5, the globally recognized touch and blending expertise of master distiller Noel Sweeney. He actually gets an element. That's pretty awesome. I want to be an element. Can I be like the 5th element of the Saratoga Whiskey Club? All right, so this 20-year-old single malt whiskey is a marriage of 5 different cask styles, expertly combined by Noel Sweeney to form a genuinely complex and distinctive whiskey. Noel's legendary experience has been applied to ensure that blah, 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 blah. Okay, so here we go. 16-year-old bourbon barrel matured whiskey has been finished for 4 years in a variety of Oloroso sherry, Pedro Jimenez, Marsala, and Muscatel casks, before marrying with 20-year-old bourbon matured single malt. All right, you get that? It's quite a lot to take in. So we have 16-year-old bourbon finished in a bunch of different casks, and then it's married with a 20-year-old bourbon single malt. 5 styles expertly combined by a master's touch, producing a symphony of flavor in this rare and inimitable. I've never heard inimitable. Single malt
Inimitable. Yeah.
inimitable.
Inimitable.
Inimitable. Huh.
Exactly.
That's not a word.
Can't imitate it.
All right.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. All right. So this should be interesting. I have not had a 5 Elements before.
Where's the European oak in this?
That would be in all of the sherry and the Pedro Jimenez and the Marsala and the Muscatel.
Okay. You're in for a treat.
I'm excited. I have a picture. I have a picture with Noel at the distillery. I need to put that up on the wall. He actually came to the United States a couple months ago and did a little tour visiting distilleries, and I saw he was actually at Bardstown Bourbon Company of all places, and I was like, I would have loved to have been there when he was there. And then he went up to Chicago and he visited, I think, Koval and maybe Few, and I was like, wow, I would have wish he came through Saratoga, because that would have been really a treat. But
Did you invite him?
no, I didn't. I can't invite these people.
Why not?
Not yet.
So Charles, we were able to pull up a picture of our tasting at Powers Court, and there was a kind of a blend. Then there was a 10-year
Okay.
single grain and a 14-year single malt.
Oh, that was it. 14. Yeah, it wasn't
Yep.
16. Yeah. Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is
outstanding.
this was this was not cheap. This was a couple $100.
Oh, sure. This is outstanding.
This is really good.
Well, this just jumped to my top of the list.
Yeah.
Ditto, supplanted the Dingle.
Yep. The
Oh, wow.
color of it even is nice. You look at the color, it's got just a tiny bit of pink in it.
Yeah.
Not too late for that for me.
Yeah, this is really nice. This is good. I mean, that's what's so fun about Irish whiskey. When you actually can taste like some of the really nice stuff. It's really incredible. You know, it's pretty hard to do that in general, but thankfully for us, we can do it. But it's yeah, this is the 6th, Doug. Yeah.
Hey, Charles, what's the ABV?
Oh, ABV. Oh yeah, and let me show you the box again. Here we go.
Oh,
Yeah, I forgot. You know, I'm slipping on the packaging. So this is in a box. Vanna White.
mm.
They were too cheap to foot a tube.
Yeah. So it does come in a, you know, its own little thing. This one is 46. So like the Renaissance. This is bottle number 307 out of 1500.
It's
fabulous.
Yeah, that's outstanding.
It just goes to show you what this guy knows. I mean, seriously, there's certain people in this world that, you know, are masters at what they do, and with whiskey, and he's one of those. So,
I mean, this is a very complicated blend from your description.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And it is a blend too. I mean, that's the thing. When you're mixing all those different sweet wine finishes in there, I'm sure, I doubt they're in equal proportions or whatever. I'm sure they're designed to come out with a final balance. And this is exquisite.
yeah. Imagine how hard that is too, you know, to do that to this level.
I mean, I would be curious. I mean, I don't know if this information is even available anywhere outside of the distillery itself, but what the ratios or the balances of the different sweet wine finishes are in the final product. I mean, yes, there's a little bit of each of those, but I would guess you'd probably have more of the port and the sherries and less of the marsala and what was the other one?
Muscatel.
Muscatel, yeah.
I mean, I am getting some of the, what I would call maybe candied sweetness from the Muscatel. There's a little bit of that coming through. You know, and the,
Yeah, no,
color, the color, you know, the color is not like a dark sherry color. It's definitely more of a golden, you know, hue. I don't know. Marsala is probably really light on the Marsala. I agree. It's
a nice
probably,
Sicilian.
I would guess more Pedro Jimenez and Muscatel, if anything.
Hey, you see, Pedro Jimenez though is where you'd get the darkness in the color.
Yeah, okay. I'm just thinking from the sweetness.
I mean, all of them are sweet wines.
Yeah.
I mean, Marsala is can be very sweet. Muscatel can be very sweet, and I would expect that they're probably, you know, I mean, Muscatel doesn't have to be sweet, but I would, given the kind of wine barrels that they're using, I would think it would be a sweet muscatel
Yeah,
that they're using. But it's not an overly sweet whiskey.
no, not at all. And it balances beautifully.
Yeah.
And for the ABV, you know, it doesn't need to be higher. I mean, it'd be,
No, not at all.
yeah.
It's very elegant.
Yeah. This could be one of those whiskeys that they would have at one of those, you know, finer restaurants that they would pull out at the end. It's elegant.
The Macallan's 18.
Yeah, right. All right. Wow. Almost didn't want to finish that. Rebecca's lucky. I'm saving her a little bit of each of these. Okay. So last but not least, we're going back to Teeling, going back to Dublin. And we're going to the Brabazon. Now we've done 2 other Brabazons with the club. So this is kind of cool. We did 3 out of the 4. Get my notes here ready. Okay, so this is the 4th and final release. It seems like Ireland's revolution is coming to an end. Unfortunately, no. Hopefully they have other series that we can follow. 4th and final release in the Brabazon series, which sounds like a deodorant or something. I've always kind of wondered, like, is it shampoo or is it deodorant? Brabazon, it's, I don't know. It just seems like it should be some kind of, I don't know. What,
You're thinking of Barbasol shaving
Yes.
cream.
yeah, there it is, Barbasol.
Shaving cream.
Okay. 4th and final release, which celebrates fortified wines and their influence on Teeling single malt whiskey. Number 1 was sherry. Number 2 was port. Number 3 was Pedro Jimenez. And number 4, another fancy box. Look at this. I think that the people come out of the door if you stare at it long enough. They start walking out this way.
Kind of looks like the old houses down around the Liberties.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I forgot we have a true Irishman on.
The genuine article.
I thought that was the cover of Physical Graffiti.
He finally speaks up. So here we go. Another fancy, another fancy box. Brabazon. All right, so this one is in Carcavelos white port. And I will talk about it. Have you had that, John, like on its own? Carcavelos? No.
No, I have not.
Okay.
I have not.
All right, so this edition was matured in Carcavelos casks. On the packaging, Teeling states Carcavelos white port, but that's an unfortunate mistake. Whoa. Whoever wrote this, and I can't remember who I got this from, called them out. Port can only be produced in the Douro Valley, north of Portugal, and Carcavelos is a separate DOC between Lisbon and the city of Cascais. Did I say that right? It's the southern part. Carcavelos is the 4th fortified wine in Portugal, after port, Madeira, and Muscatel, now largely forgotten, but once very, very highly regarded. Thomas Jefferson once wrote to his wine merchant, "I would prefer good Lisbon wine, next to that sherry, next to that Carcavallo," or Carcavallo. However, winemaking in the Carcavelos area has been in decline for many decades. There's only 25 acres of vineyards left. Slightly obscure grapes like Arinto and Gallego Dourado, and basically just one brand with a regular pronunciation or production called Villa Oeiras, Oeiras. Say it how you will. In fact, this is the only state-owned winery in the country in an attempt of the government not to let the wine fall into oblivion. So that's probably why John has not tasted Carcavelos. Only the most extreme fortified wine lovers will have heard of this wine. So Teeling, nice of you to draw some attention to it, but they won't be happy you're calling it a port wine. Now let's see what the effect is on Irish whiskey. So this is 49.5% ABV, 10,000 bottles in this final release of Brabazon. So we've really enjoyed the Brabazon series. It's been fun. Again, we had 3 of the 4. I think we actually had the Port Pedro Jimenez. So we missed out on the first one, but we had 2, 3, and 4. So we did okay. We did 3 of the 4. But yeah, 10,000 bottles in this special release. And we'll see how it is. Single malt. Pretty nice nose.
It's quite tasty.
Now this is 13 years, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 13 years. Now they don't say how long it's been finished or what the original, I couldn't find that. Yeah, this is about $120, $130, somewhere in that range.
Charles, just out of curiosity,
Yeah.
why did you put this one after the Fercullen?
You know, I didn't really have too much of a rhyme or reason for this tasting tonight. It was,
Yeah, they're all Irish.
yeah, I mean, they were all fairly close to each other in ABV, so I didn't have to think too much about that. And they all had different flavor profiles for the most part. So, I mean, the biggest jump obviously was from the first one to the Dingle. And that's where I was telling everybody, clean your palate. You know, the first one was kind of just to wake you up, maybe just to try something new. It was a pre-tasting dram. You know, it was that extra 7th dram, basically, to the real tasting.
I mean, the reason I asked that question is this is a very nice whiskey. It has a hard act, very difficult act to follow. And, you know, if the Teelings were all together,
Yeah.
I mean, then this is a third of the Teelings.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I did think of that. I actually did think of putting the Teelings together. Actually, when I sent out the email, or when I made the placemat the other night, I forgot what labels I had put on the bottles. And, you know, things are crazy. I'm just.
Oh, I know. I'm not this.
But
I mean, you haven't tasted. You didn't taste these either.
No, and I didn't taste.
So it's.
But I, in retrospect, you know, I did think about it when I was actually doing the placemat. I was like, what was my, and I had to try and remember what my original thought process was, because it was a while ago, because I ordered these a month and a half, 2 months ago or whatever. And I probably, in retrospect, would have put the Teelings together, but I didn't for whatever reason. So,
yeah. No, I mean, again, it's not a criticism. You didn't taste them. We hadn't tasted them.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a lovely whiskey, but after the Fercullen, it kind of gets.
When I did the placemat, my thought process was actually, why didn't I put the single grains together? So I should have put the Kirker and Greer first, and then should have done the 13-year single grain Teeling to get the single grains kind of out of the way, and then maybe go to the writer's
Interesting.
tiers, which is the combination, and then finish with single malt. You know, that was when I was doing the placemat. That was kind of, but then I also thought, well, maybe I should put the Teelings together. But then I looked at I actually came down to the shop from my apartment and opened the bag because I forgot what order I had put on the bottles. And somebody called me out because the last placemat I had wrong.
But Charles, as Holly says, you did great, and you did. I mean, this is not, my point was not as a criticism. I was more curious as to what your thinking, was. This is once again, as always, really, not just once again, but as always, it's a fabulous tasting. And tasting this, what makes this tasting even more fabulous is the fact that, it's hard you can't get these things here.
Yeah. And
otherwise,
that's part of the club too, And
of course it is.
I'm trying to not forget about that, obviously, with, a store and all of that. But, that's where I started, was I came back from Scotland and I was like, oh my God, I can't afford all of these whiskeys. I need to figure out a way to taste these with people that, we can all go in on these things and make it somewhat reasonable. And so, yeah, that's where we're at. And I love these tastings. I mean, again, for me, I haven't tasted any of these. So for me, I this is what it's all about for me.
It's again, Holly, yes, I agree. I applaud you, Charles, as always. You're magnificent.
Good job.
Hey, sorry, what was the APV of the last one?
46.
Thank you.
Oh,
And
no,
yeah, good
49.5, wasn't it?
No, this one is 49.5. Thank you, Larry.
Somebody's paying attention.
I usually make it up by the 7th one,
It was the Fercullen that was 46. That was the same as Renaissance. Yeah, I was thinking one whiskey before, but
I know I'm an easy grader, but I gave 4 of these 90 or better.
yeah, that's awesome.
This is a really good taste.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did as well.
Nice. Good. That's awesome. I love it. I mean, here we are. Tomorrow is St. Paddy's Day. So, it's harder to do Irish tastings because there's just not a lot to, be excited about, unfortunately, here in the US. I mean, we have these really great Method and Madness that we just got in. And I know we've tasted 1 or 2 of these before, but, they're pretty great. But
they're great.
There's not a lot of stuff, unfortunately, besides 2 Stacks. 2 Stacks is really great. So we'll figure it out. I've got to bring in more Irish into the mix. So
I was surprised there wasn't a Method and Madness on here.
yeah, well, those came in, and again, this was bottles that I got from abroad. So
yeah, no,
I tried to stick to that for this one, but I think we will probably put one of those in what's new tasting coming forward because those are new to the shop too. So, but there's just not a lot of Irish that's worthy of getting excited about, unfortunately.
Hey, Charles,
Yeah.
did you say you got these from abroad or a broad?
I got them from 2 broads.
Sorry, I had to add.
All right, we're at that point of the tasting.
And he wasn't even part of the tasting. Beth Ann, come on now. I mean, you gotta when you do a tasting without him,
I know.
he needs to be in the other room.
I know. He got home late. He didn't want to join this one, but I told him about the Dingleberry
I
joke.
said, I've had enough of the Irish. There's no way
yeah,
I'm voluntarily doing it.
And then Luke showed up.
He would have participated in that. I had to laugh because they were funny. And my kids would have laughed if they were here.
Well,
too.
what did you think, Beth Ann? Because you're the Irish drinker of the household.
I liked the non-wine finishes.
Okay.
those tend to have more of a funky flavor for me.
Okay.
So I liked the Fercullen one. That was my favorite. And then the Writer's Tears I liked, and then the Kirker and Greer. Those were my
Wow,
top three.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. See, there you go. Everybody's got a different flavor profile, which is wonderful. That's what makes this great. I really enjoyed the Writer's Tears a lot myself. I thought that was pretty great. But it brought back a lot of memories of Writer's Tears for me too. So there's definitely that, you know, it's all about memory sensation too. So a lot of these were not what you expect from Irish whiskey. So
Cool. That was great tasting.
all right, so we're gonna wrap up hour and 45 minutes. So hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be I was gonna do a bottle kill for last year's members next week, but my office is not ready yet. I'm not there yet. I will let people know with plenty of advance warning if you're from out of town and you want to come, but I just can't pull it off next week. It's been too crazy and my office isn't ready yet. But it will happen in the next couple of months. Also, for anybody who's in the Albany barrel, we do have a Saturday lined up with Rick. I don't know who in this group is in the barrel or not.
Date?
Yeah, there's a few people. So it's May 14, which is a Saturday.
Okay.
I saw people shaking their heads. So
Bottle kill that Friday, Charles, for those of us coming in from parts unknown.
maybe. We can figure that out. But yeah, we're coming up on our 4-year anniversary at Albany Distilling. So we gotta decide what we want to do with that barrel. So that's I just talked to Rick today, but that's what's happening then. And Drams for Fams, I'm hoping for May 25th. It's a Wednesday, middle of the week, at Henry Street Tap Room. Talked to Ryan. That looks like it's a possibility. So hopefully that date sticks.
What was the date again?
It's a Wednesday, May 25th. And then we have a lot of other tastings. Actually, another one to keep on your radar. It's a Friday. I think it's May 6th. It's the day before the Derby, I think. We have Robin Robinson, who wrote the Whiskey Guide something. He's got a great book. I have it upstairs. He's coming, and we're doing a really special VIP tasting with Robin at my office on Broadway, where you actually get a book and a glass and everything, and food. There's going to be snacks and everything.
That's going to be Zoom too also?
No, that's going to be in person only. That will be in person only. That's on Friday, May, I think it's the 6th. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, yes, the 6th.
Yeah, so that'll be, there's only, I think, like 20 people that are going to be, and Northshire is promoting that. So we're going to be competing with Northshire.
What's the name of the book?
It's in the other room. I can't move.
Holly?
Holly, I don't know if she can hear. Holly, what's the name of Robin's book? All right, hold on. She's getting it. She put 1 second finger. It's a great book. I have it. And actually, I was on one of Robin's Zoom meetings over the last couple of years where he went through. He's really great. But we're picking out 5 special whiskeys for that tasting. And he's going to walk us through them, do his thing, and sign books. And I think it's just going to be like 20 people.
Let's hope there are no new Greek letters that pop up before then, between now and then.
Yes. Oh, there it is. The complete whiskey course.
Oh.
Well, I was looking for the book here in the shop because we had it in the shop don't know where I'm supposed to be talking. But it's a global whiskey book. So he actually Robin he helped launch Compass Box in the United States. So he was employee number 1 with John Glazier, and he's worked for lots of different brands, and he used to present at Astor all the time and then wrote this book. So it's really it's a pretty thick book, but it's, got your Scotland, Ireland, North America, bourbons, ryes, Japanese whiskey, and then New World. And it's pretty good for anyone that's, looking for a complete guide to whiskey production, any sort of reference that you might need. So that's Robin. He's a character too.
He's gonna do a book signing at the shop beforehand that afternoon from like 4 to 6. He's gonna be at the shop doing a book signing. We'll have books for sale, same price as Amazon at the shop. And then the VIP tasting that evening with it's gonna be like, I think it's $90 or $99, but it includes a book and a glass and food and whiskey. So it's quite the deal to have a very intimate evening with Robin, who's going to spend the night here. So who knows, maybe we go out with him afterwards and hit the town and have some drams. So
What night was that, Charles?
it's Friday, the May 6th.
May
It's
6th.
the night before the Derby.
And are you sending out an email about it? Or how
Yeah,
do
we will. We haven't sent any. I'm just telling you guys right now. We just literally like confirmed things this week. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Wait. Hold on, Holly. You gotta see that. Gotta pin that chat. Oh, look at that. Nice.
All right, guys. We're gonna close up. I need to wrap up and kick these people out of my shop. So hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you have a great St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. I know I'm gonna go out and have a Guinness just to celebrate and remember 2 years ago when we couldn't do that. So cheers everybody, and have a good night. Hope you enjoyed this special tasting. So
It's great. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, Charles.
all right, see you guys.
Bye.
Thank you.